Greetings, 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 Augies worldwide. There's folks from all over the place. We've got, let's see, here. Okay, come on, behave. All right, we've got Germany and Denmark, and somebody was listening to the clock before I cut off the microphone for it. Denmark and Dominican Republic and Manchester, UK, Rockport, Texas, and New Jersey, and Alaska, Matt from Argentina, Germany, sunny Philadelphia. We have a little bit of sunshine today. South Africa, Illinois. Wow, look at all the people we've got here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody. I'm Dave Kassler, KE0OG, your host, and we're going to answer questions from viewers. And Scott said he passed his tech exam last week. He's now KE8LUP. Scott, congratulations, and welcome to Ham Radio. And we've got New Mexico, Minnesota. Wow, lots of people today. Some of the things that I've been doing recently, I actually put out 2 videos this week. One video was one about the Anytone D878UV radio, specifically how to use it on APRS. I've never done APRS through DMR before, so this was my first time, and I'm really pleased to say that it worked, and it worked well. So I'll have to be experimenting a bit more with that particular radio, because that shows how the GPS works on it and how the DMR APRS works. You can also do traditional APRS. The other video that I put up was one having to do with some winter antenna damage. The key one was my poor MFJ cobweb. A deer got it. At least looking at the footprints and everything like that, it was a deer. Came running through the night. I think came right over the end of a guy rope and just kept running straight. Ended up pulling the antenna down, and then it, in the struggle to get away from the cobweb of the cobweb, the deer got all tangled up in it, tore up the antenna, and then ran on, apparently without any injury. And so I went out and looked at the antenna. I think it is repairable. I'm certainly going to make the attempt to repair it. And most of the pieces appear there, although the plates that hold the spreaders in place are kind of torn up a little bit, but that all can be fixed. Hello from Biloxi, Mississippi. Wallace, I was stationed in the Air Force in Biloxi at Keesler Air Force Base back in 1976 and very early 77. And that was a long time ago, I'll tell you. You guys really got walloped by a hurricane a few years back. All right. The other key announcement, though, if you haven't heard, is that the, I keep wanting to call them the novice, the technician videos are done, the update to the new book. And so if you want to study, please be sure you're using the current videos, because there is some added and changed material. Go to ke0og.net/training. Just the word training is all. It'll take you to a list of the current videos. The other thing you can do if you want is go to the playlist on my channel for the technician videos. That is current also. Thanks to the hard work of my assistant. He's a high school junior, and that's nice. He's a high school junior, and he's very good with doing the internet and YouTube kind of administrative functions. Very good. All right, well, let's see here. We've got Uh, wow. Well, thank you for that, Philip, for referencing my channel when you turn on the radio. I appreciate that. This is how word gets out about channels. It's all word of mouth. YouTube also will send people to the channel. That's where subscribing and liking come in. They tell YouTube that people like the channel, so it gets referred more. I passed a milestone. Let's look at this on the dashboard up here and look at the top screen. I want you to look at that number right there, 50,058 subscribers. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. It's a major milestone for me, crossing 50,000 subscribers. And I want to give my appreciations to every one of you. A big milestone, 50,000 subscribers. Okay, this is a video suggestion. Now we're starting on the 12th of March, okay, and the package is getting a little bit thinner, so we might actually catch up. Could spend a little bit more time on each question. This is from Dave Slaughter, W3DJS, and he gives his YouTube live stream moniker. He said he's a long-time subscriber and Augie, as well as a new patron. He'd like to request that I do a video on call sign prefixes and suffixes. The prefixes indicate the country, and then the number indicates a district within the country, and the suffix indicates the individual call sign. So I'll see what I can do about that, because there's some very interesting prefixes out there. And my silent lunch. I'm setting that one aside with a short list of suggested new topics, and we'll see if we can't get to those. Oh, by the way, the other thing, I didn't say it in the video yesterday, because when I made the video yesterday, it was gloomy and cold outside and windy, but it became sunny and cold and windy. And so Julian, my assistant, and I went out and erected the Octopus antenna. It's up. Now, I did some preliminary testing on it, but this next week, I'm going to have Julian bring a friend, because it really takes more than one purpose to wrangle this antenna. And we have to put it up, measure it, take it down, make changes, put it up, measure it. And the problem with it is being electrically equivalent to a fan dipole. Changing one band will affect the other band. So it could be an interesting experience to tune it. But it is up and in all its glory. So now that that's up, we'll do the video this coming week about the Octopus antenna, assuming it doesn't snow again. Okay, from Terry Smith, KG5UYI. He says, I am a new ham with First Radio. When looking at all the menus, when I turned my radio on the next time, it asked for a password. Ouch. I did not mean to set one up, but I guess I turned the function on and did not know it. The radio's in Anytone AT778UV. How do I get around the prompt, reset to factory, or do I have a brick? Well, I don't think you have a brick. I think you probably have a perfectly good radio. Anytone uses as its default password 1234567 So you could try that and see if that works. If not, the instruction manual will have instructions for resetting it to factory default, which usually consists of holding down a couple keys. I think on the 878 it's push to talk and that little button on the top, holding those down while you turn it on. and it will put the thing back to factory values. But look in your manual for that. Anytone is pretty good at customer support. They've got a rep here in the United States. So if all else fails, get in touch with them and see what you can do. So I think you'll probably be okay. It's frustrating, though, I'll tell you that. Okay, this is from Blaine KJ7ECX. And he says, fix your tip jar. I could send you $1, but wish to send more. Your loss. Okay, I do not wish to show up on an episode. I've searched all the internet. Recently purchased a Yaesu FT70DR for entrance into and connecting to the Yaesu Fusion repeaters in my area. He must live in a major metropolitan area. After almost 40 years in aviation, service related, and with helicopters, I have hearing loss, which is common with people who've worked around airplanes and aircraft. So he purchased an external mic to put up against my ear because I can't find a headset. There are aftermarket headsets for that radio. Contact either, it's hamradio.com, which is Ham Radio Outlet, or DX Engineering, which is at dxengineering.com, and they'll get you hooked up with the right headset. Many have fried their FT60s, he owns two, by not attaching an external mic in the correct manner. Is there an external correct manner? Yes. I believe on that radio there is a separate jack for headphone and microphone. So if you get the correct aftermarket headset, you'll be in good shape. Okay. Can the FT70 be used with just external power? I would assume so. But the way handhelds are set up, usually that battery is in the loop. Now, you've got a Yaesu, so they don't always do this, but sometimes there's a separate fake battery pack that you attach and then you run the 12 volts into it. I know the old Icons used to do that too. The Oshing radio, that's spelled Wooksun, it has a battery pack you can get to connect directly to 12 volts, and I happen to have that. But you should be able to get that. Talk to either Ham Radio Outlet or DX Engineering. They'll get you set up with something like that. I would note that if you tried to call Yaesu itself, you're going to probably end up in a loop of some kind. They don't sell direct. They sell through dealers only. So, and I should show this is silent. Okay. So this one is from Ted Wojcik, KC1 JMZ, and he's signed /AE. Just wanted to take a moment and thank you for doing the extra amateur radio, or the amateur extra video series. You just passed the extra exam first try, and between your videos and a semi-local study class, I got it done. Well, congratulations to KC1JMZ for getting his extra class. That is a major milestone. That's a big deal. So, I know Gordon West rings a bell every time someone passes their extra. I should get a bell or a buzzer or a horn or something like that for that. This is, let me go back here so I can see the live stream. Yep, come on. Oh, why is it so slow? Okay. We have 96 people watching. Let me go back here just a little bit with the questions. Snowing in northern Michigan. A good day from Australia. Mnemonic, Wisconsin. Let's see. Snowing in northern Michigan. It is 42 degrees here. It's mostly sunny for the moment. Listening in Biloxi. Let's see. We're starting at 1500 EDT now. 3 o'clock, yes. It's 1900 UTC that we're starting at. And I'll just show that screen starts on the hour, so that's 3 p.m. EDT that we're starting at. I didn't get the YouTube invite until just a few minutes before. Sorry about that. Wow. What do you think of using 75 ohm coax? A friend has some 75 ohm coax that is like RG6, but it's copper on center and shield. It does work. You may need a tuner between your radio and the 75 ohm coax, although an internal tuner should be able to tune to that without a problem. Good news on the Octopus. Yes. Hello from Spain. Do you get credit if I purchase an Anytone through someone specific? Yes, Amazon. If you go to my my website at dcasler.com, okay, and you'll come up with this, and if you click on the support tab, these are different ways you can support, and one here is buying Amazon products, and I get a little bit of a finder's fee. Here's the Anytone AT-D878. If you go to that right there and buy from them, then you'll get, I get a finder's fee for that. So thank you for asking about that. Okay, when I passed the General Extra, I did a happy dance in front of the VEs. Now 70 years old. Oh, not silent. Yes. Okay. Nelson. Maybe a gong. Well, that's an idea. Do you have settings for mic processing in Yaesu FTDX 3000 stock mic? I've used the stock mic as is, but I can, in fact, I think I have put my, settings up on my website. I'll check that, and if I haven't, I'll put them up there. They're designed for this microphone. See if I can get it out without tearing all the cameras down. This mic is, well, here, let me do it with the overhead. This mic right here is modeled after one of the Heil mics and put together by Tentec. And it's a great mic. However, it tends to be very boomy, bassy. So I have adjusted for that, and I'll put in that how I have done that. Okay, from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Where did you purchase your Schedule 40 aluminum mast for the hex beam? I purchased it at a local place called Reclametals. It's a reclamation center, and they're basically selling surplus. Some of the surplus is new, and they're just buying overstocks and things like that, and they recycle metal on an industrial scale, and they have a shed full of aluminum tubing, and you might be able to find something like under metal reclamation or something like that in your local area. And I went in and dug through all of their stuff. It's kind of an interesting place, and found this tubing and found out what it was, and decided this would be perfect for a short 20-foot antenna mast. Say thank you, passing my extra and even working on his GROL. And this is, that's, I'm not sure, but that has something to do with aviation. I don't know. Bear Twigs, if you could put up just what GROL stands for. Are you participating in the CQ single sideband contest? I should be. Just a quick question. What would you suggest as an antenna for HOAs that have covenants that don't allow for any kind of an antenna in any shape or form, looking to operate at least 6 through 80? Well, that's a lot. You might be able to get along with a vertical in between some trees or something. Let's see. I'll go ahead and show that. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes the YouTube holds comments for review for no apparent reason. Unfortunately, I can just cancel that and then let them show. By the way, this is not green. It's sort of beige. Let's see. This is from John Palmer, KC3CEF. So I'd say thanks for all the great videos. They have helped me come along in the hobby with the help of YouTube and bang head here poster on the wall of my radio room. I've finally got RTTY working with this IC7300 using MMTTY. Good. I've made one RTTY contact, so I know it works. The question is, I have heard no other RTTY signals on the air. I used the ARRL Considered Operator's Guide to find them, but with no luck. Is it a mode that is becoming obsolete or not commonly used or just poor band conditions? Here's what's going on. RTTY is kind of the first truly digital mode, meaning machine to machine, where you've got very specific timings and settings for the lengths of characters and so on. Uses ITU, alphabet number 2, which is the Baofeng code. And the problem is that RTTY is great for contests, but I've not seen a whole lot of rag chewing on it. You'll see the RTTY band just absolutely come alive during a contest. The real work, if you can get over into PSK31 down at 14070, you will see more activity, not a huge amount of activity anymore. It used to be extremely popular. And then, of course, the one that's really popular these days is FT8. RTTY is a wonderful conversational mode. It has no error correction, and in fact is rather prone to errors. PSK31 also has no error correction, but it is not nearly as prone to errors because the mechanism for coding PSK31 is more adapted to the HF channel. The RTTY code, the Baofeng code, was not designed for a radio channel. It was designed for a landline channel, which had a much better bit error rates. So I keep an ear tuned for RTTY, but mostly you're going to find PSK31 if you want conversational mode, and of course FT8 seems to be active all the time. RTTY heats up during, yes, that's exactly right. Okay, the general radio telephone operator license. Thank you, appreciate it. Will a random long wire work vertical attached to the middle part of the tree would be invisible to others? Yes, it would probably work. Use insulated wire. Would it be efficient? Try it and see whether you like it. A lot of antennas, especially if in trees or run just a few inches above the gutter or something, can be made to radiate. Also, the MFJ loop and all the other loops. The MFJ loop is nice because you can remotely control it. Although it's expensive, but it's only 3 feet in diameter, and if you get that out, hanging in a tree or something like that, or if you you can even hang it horizontally. You get horizontal polarization that way. I have one. If that's the only antenna you can manage, it's a good antenna. It won't cover 80 through 6. It'll cover 40 through 15, I think. Then there's another version that'll do like 20 through 10. But you can look at something like that. They are kind of expensive. They're $500 something. Okay, Soylent, now with extra people, yes. Okay, for those who don't know, there's a science fiction story called Soylent Green. And that is actually where this name came from. They picked it up from that. It's a food in the science fiction story. And what people didn't know in the book was that the Soylent Green was made from people. It's where they got rid of people. They made Soylent Green from, this is not green, it's beige. That's actually a pretty awful thought, isn't it? Okay, let's see. Check with Chameleon Antenna website for good portables. Wolf River Antennas, good. Thank you, David, for the tip. And Don DeGidio passed his GRL with radar endorsement about 30 years ago. Cool. PSK can be a lot of fun, yes. When the QSO is actually conversational, a lot of people just exchange macros, which is a shame. I think people should talk, but it's me. Would you consider starting a CW net? Good for testing equipment. Hint, hint. I've been thinking of doing several people have suggested I do a single sideband net, maybe either just before or just after this broadcast. Let's see, shortwave broadcasters all really like MFSK32 for their digital over analog shows. Okay, I was a SATCOM guy in the U.S. Army. We spent much time trying to sync our PlayStations over the satellite. Cool. If you're using geostationary satellites, there's a 7/10 of a second delay between sending a signal up and getting it back down. It's so far away. Ever use West Mountain Radio or the Heil parametric audio system? No, I haven't. Let's see. RJ, forgot what's N. Okay. When I get in a talk group, I'm okay till I use push to talk, and then I get sent somewhere else using Digimonitor, one slot from OpenSpot. What are you doing wrong? I did a video on OpenSpot. It shows how to set up the parameters in there. I've not done it for the OpenSpot 2. It's kind of a pricey little thing. I've got the OpenSpot 1. Okay, the Anytone 868. I have an 878. Okay, we've got to get onto these here. Okay, Wayne Mills N7NG says, this is from Wayne N7NG in Jackson Hole. That's up in Wyoming. A very nice place up there. Beautiful, near Grand Tetons National Park. Just watched an episode wherein you mentioned incentive licensing. And then the Delta Division has never forgiven the ARRL for their part in that. Well, they did more than a part. They're the one who proposed it. That was a long time ago, guys. Let's get with the program here. Are you aware that amateur radio actually had incentive licensing prior to 1953? Yes. Yes, they did. There was even a time where to get to the highest class license, you had to show a certain amount of on-the-air experience by showing your log. It's sort of like when my kids took their driver's license tests. They had to have a log that proved 50 hours behind the wheel before they could get their license, and 10 of that had to be driving at night. So, yeah, this is just, I won't call it an opinion, I'll call it a thought, that I think to get amateur extra, you ought to have been a ham on the air for a couple of years, because then the extra means a lot more to you. Otherwise, it's just passing a test. But some people go all the way at one sitting. The current ARRL proposal before the FCC right now is this, that technician licensees, existing technician licensees, be given some meaningful HF segments on 80, 40, 15, and they've already got them on 10. So 80, 40, and 15. Basically single sideband privileges in a meaningful segment of the band. In 80 meters, it's 3.9 to 4.0, which is a big chunk of the band. On 40, it's 7.225 to 3, which is the old general allocation now. I think the general allocation is expanded now. No privileges on 20, and which is a very popular band. It's kind of the DX band. And then some on 15. 15's kind of pretty much closed all the time these days at the low sunspot cycle, just like 10 is. Occasionally it opens up, and when it does, it's spectacular. I'm all for that. I think the 20-meter thing is a holdover from the old novice license, because the old novice license, you had privileges on 80, 40, 15, and 10, and no 20. At the time, the 20-meter band was kind of like the DX hotspot. But let me tell you, I'm all for it. I'm all for letting technicians get on HF. I mean, this would be a great opportunity for people to learn, but more important, it's a tremendous incentive to become a ham radio operator. Because I think, 2 meters and 70 centimeters is great. There's some good things on. With DMR, you can talk all over the world, same with D-Star. But the real fun is on HF, and I think people would be a lot more motivated to come into it. Now, I know that a lot of people don't agree with that, but oh well. Okay, now the FCC wants to give more HF privileges to technicians. That's actually the ARRL, and comments are open right now. You can comment on that particular FCC docket. No, not really, because I don't think it counters incentive, because if you go to general, you get more frequencies, bigger chunks of the band. If you go for extra, you get all of it. Okay, so yeah, I think Philip Rhodes has got it. He went for Tech in General the same night, but stopped short of extra because he didn't want to field a bunch of questions from other hams that really only experience can answer. And I think it'll mean a lot more to you when you go do it. You go, wow, there's really some meat here. Thought to get a vertical random wire up high as tree as possible, attached to 9-to-1 balun hidden in the tree, and have ground radials also. Not sure if this makes sense. Once 20 and 40, I think it makes perfect sense. Go give it a try. Yeah. Well, but the problem that we have with our technicians is somebody gets their technician license, you hand them an HT, and wow, they can talk on it. They can do that on their phone. So a lot of people, we lose probably 80% of our techs in the first week. So there's got to be more to ham radio for a tech than just a handheld and talk to somebody local. I know you can talk to the moon, you can do all of these other things with your tech. There's a lot of people researching microwaves and so on. You can do television, you can do all kinds of things. But most people look at that radio and go, wow, meh. So I think we need to give them more. Giving them 10 meters was really good when the sunspot cycle was up, but it's not up now. And so they have HF privileges that are not meaningful unless you do CW. And then techs do have the old novice bands. I am feeding a 62-inch dipole with 450 ohm windowed line, works well. 4-to-1 Balun, bought a 9-to-1 Balun, think of a better match, but off the scale Visuar. Sounds like the 4-to-1 is the right one. Thank you for the thumbs up. Appreciate that. What if more tech licenses just settle a tech? Do you know there are still novice licensees who keep renewing their licenses? I really wonder if they're actually on the air. It's possible to stop at tech. A lot of people stop at general. But my experience is people usually keep in mind the idea of upgrading to extra. I'm not going to force that as my thought on the idea. I like the idea of more privileges for tech to keep them in ham radio. The amount of privileges, what they should be, go ahead and comment to the FCC right now, because that is open to comments. And this is the time that they listen, and the FCC, being a government organization, gets measured on how well it responds to comments. So go ahead and do that. Let's see. All right, and there's a 2 Echo 0 Papa Papa Juliet. The 2 Echo is the prefix, by the way. It's a UK prefix. Aren't there foundation class licenses in UK with lower powered HF privileges? Yes. Yes, and I believe the new technician privileges would be limited to 200 watts rather than 1500, meaning, in essence, no amplifiers. So, let's see. Good grief, we're 35 minutes into this, and I've got a lot of questions to go here. This one is from Jim Giordano, and says, hi from Mesa, Arizona. I was monitoring the wind system tech hour last night. I missed the answer. The question was, if you have a CB turned off and are talking on your ham station, which is next to your CB in the shack, you should disconnect the CB from the antenna to prevent a possible burning out of the front end of the CB receiver. I'm going for my tech ticket, so no transmitting for me yet. I had my novice ticket in the 70s. He was WN2PUF, and let it expire for girls and cars. Oh my, that is a common tale to be told. Now 62-year-olds and is getting back. The answer to your question depends on how far apart your CB antenna is from your ham antenna. If it's more than about 50 feet, you probably don't have a problem. But if you're concerned about it, yes, go ahead and disconnect. One of the things that helps is the fact that the antenna for the CB doesn't respond well to amateur radio frequencies, so you won't get that much of a blast on the front end. You'll get some. And this is Tim. So it is now March 17th. Yes, we're up to March 17th. I bought a Baofeng UV5R from Amazon a few days ago. I bought this because I'm studying to get my ham license. I know the radio is cheap. I really recommend that people actually pass their test before they get equipment. My question is this: can I not legally use this radio to talk on ham radio? No, not until you get your license. I know that I cannot transmit until I have my license, but is this radio not legal to use? There was a lot of hoofera about that ban on Chinese radios. Has to do with radios that were not type accepted at all. Okay, like the OllyWiz that I have up here. Not even an attempt at type certification. The UV5R, I believe, is okay. The problem Baofeng got into is that they started to think, well, if they slightly mod the radio, the original certification will be okay for it and they can continue to sell. And they were wrong. Anytime you mod it and you've got a different model number, you have to go through the process again. Now, there are labs in China that are certified to do the testing, the FCC testing, and then that gets sent to the FCC. And there's an FCC website where you can look at all of the certification paperwork for all of the models. And so they got the UV5R has formed the basis for a whole family of radios. The problem is that they really need to get that certification for each and every member of the family. And I believe that's been, is being straightened out. The UV5R is a very common radio. It's a very, very inexpensive radio. You do get what you pay for, but it does work. And I think if you use it within the ham bands, within the scope of your license, you'll be okay. It's not okay to use a Baofeng on family radio service or general mobile radio service because they're not type accepted for just that. And they put out too much power. Put out about 5 watts, I think, which is normal for a handheld. Okay, this is from Steve Rammer. Have you had any experience with flagpole antennas? I have not personally. That's another way to deal with a recalcitrant homeowners association. If you have a home, you can put a flagpole in the yard. There's no homeowners association that's going to tell you you can't put a flagpole in your yard. And you can hide an antenna in it. And there are companies that make these. So you can put them out there, and they're to all the world a flagpole. You'll have to hide the radials under the lawn. There are things you can do to make this work, and a lot of people swear by them. Okay, this is from Robert Evans, AE4BE, from Sunday, March 17th. We were having trouble with signal attenuation on our cable feed, and the cable guys recommended changing out our RG59 to RG6. I'm thinking about buying a 500-foot spool. It's a lot of coax. I just recently did that, and I'll have this stuff for years, I think. But would like to use the same cable for radio amateur licenses. Any comments about RG6 versus RG8? RG6 is, I think, 75 ohm cable. The answer is that, yes, there'll be a little bit of an impedance mismatch at the radio. But it's less than a 2-to-1 SWR. It gives you about 1.6 to 1 SWR if you have a nicely tuned dipole. So the tuner in your radio can tune up to 3-to-1 SWR usually. If it's a 10-tech radio, it'll tune up to 10-to-1. Or if you have an external antenna tuner, it will take care of the difference. And RG6 cable is much less expensive than RG8 or RG8X or RG8U or RG213 or LMR 400 and so on. The cable gets expensive. Okay, this is from J. Abner, AJ4AJ. My ham shack is a dedicated building that has a metal roof and metal siding. The AC electric comes from an underground conduit, 4 wires. Sounds like 3-phase. Fed from the house. There's no ground rods at the ham shack for the AC, only at the service entry for the house. That's interesting. I always thought they put one at every building. Should I ground the metal shell of the ham shack? You can do that. But the issue is that the metal pieces of the metal building aren't necessarily well connected to each other electrically. And where you get a poor connection between it, you can actually get it to act as a diode, and you put an RF on that, and it will actually create, because of the rectification of the wave, create new frequencies. And they can be weird sometimes. I would definitely put a ground rod there for your station, for your signal ground. And it would be good to run a wire, I believe it's a number 6 bare copper wire, back to your household utility ground and bond it there. And if you bury that somewhat, it'll act as a ground even running in between and can narrow that out. Now you're going to run into a problem. Power supplies usually pass through the grounded plug that goes into the wall, comes up and is grounded to the DC black wire ground, because we use red and black for 12 volts, and AC wiring, the black is the hot, and DC wiring black is the other. But you can run into some issues with a ground loop. If you do, one of those 4 wires for your, it sounds like a Y configuration for 3-phase, in which case it should be 5 wires. You may have to consult an electrician. I'm not absolutely sure. But yes, ground. Okay, let's see. Foundation licenses, yes. All right. General never really got on the air. Always try to connect. I have met so many people who pass all 3 tests at one sitting, and then that's the last we ever hear of them. And I don't know, some people like to pass tests. It's like spending $10,000 to get your private pilot's license and then never flying again. You know, I don't know, some people collect certificates. That's not me. I remember when I got my novice, I could hardly wait to get on the air. But the novice had HF privileges. There were some privileges on 220 megahertz, which I never used. But it was all CW. And back then, everybody considered that okay. That was long before cell phones and the internet. So, let's see. This is a message from Bill Parks, KI4EGQ, and it's kind of a long message. He's had some real problems with the troll getting on the air, and he says there's a D-star reflector, and there's a guy who gets on there and interrupts QSOs, pontificating his anti-government sentiment, white supremacist, neo-Nazi, anti-Catholic rants. What can you do about him? To be honest, not a lot. Go elsewhere. Different reflector, different whatever. Because people like this are not necessarily amenable to people asking them nicely to go elsewhere. You would think they would be because they're people, but what happens a lot, and I just read a story in Wired where people had done a study of the tactics of the fascists back in Italy in the 1920s when Mussolini came to power. They never engaged in discussion with the enemies of fascism. Their only tactics were to outscream them, if you will, and just push their bile on other people. And we're seeing that today on parts of the internet and in political parties and things like that. There's no reasoned discourse, and there won't be, especially with people like this. So what the people need to do, and this is what the new official observer program, they just changed the name of it, and they're going to train these people to work more closely with the FCC so that they can bring these cases to conclusion rather faster than they used to be able to do it. This FCC doesn't have huge law enforcement powers. However, they can and do assess fines. They call them civil forfeitures, and they're civil forfeitures. And these cases can take a few years. Don't respond to the guy because that just emboldens him. Again, he's not interested in discussing his views. He's not interested in hearing other people's views. He is interested only in spewing bile. So don't give him an audience. That's about all I can say. And there are people on certain HF frequencies who do that too. And it's best just to avoid those. Eventually, the FCC will catch up with it. You can file a complaint, which will give them a little bit more of a record of what's going on. But I'm sorry, amateur radio regulations make the assumptions that we're dealing with reasonable people, and we aren't always. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, lots of RG6 lying around. It can attest for my purposes in HFS works just fine. You can go get RG6 if you go down to Home Depot and go in the area where they have the cable boxes and things like that. It's usually kind of near the electrical. I haven't tried any RG6 yet. I should probably go do that. From Hammer US Navy, thank you for your kind words. Appreciate that. In addition to shared ground bus at your station, what are your thoughts on using an isolation transformer for our power supplies? I've not had a problem where I've thought of doing that. One of the problems is you don't want to isolate the ground. I absolutely, categorically reject the idea that you should defeat the utility safety ground. It's there to protect you. Use it. If you have a ground loop, then you can use, the ferrite beads and all of that sort of thing, ferrite coils to wind your power supply and things too, but don't defeat the safety ground. First time watching live, Russ Pickle, well, thank you. Whoops. Oh, we had one guy do that a few months, active member in Tucson. Well, I hope they get over it and learn that there's a lot of diversity in the world, and that's even in ham radio. Even, for example, on what people think about technician privileges. This is from Don DeGidio. Have passed all the written exams in 77, but did not pass the 13-word per minute code and ended up as a Tech Plus. 4 years, found out I was grandfathered for general and upgraded. Good deal. Yeah, I should probably not have talked politics at all. It's just that we need to try to be civil to each other. Okay, Ham Nation did a segment on it last Wednesday. Oh, good. I'll have to take a look at that. Okay, use him as a training. Yeah, you can do that. Okay. Let's see, we've got a few minutes left here. This is from Peter N9YZA. Peter, great video on the or Dave, great video on the BITX 40. Most of the issues you mentioned I did come across and have changed the volume control for a larger one. The power in for a good 2-pin fuse, and have added a mic socket. Yeah, I just about had the thing burn up on me, and so I put a fuse in there. I don't know what I touched, but whoa, it let the smoke out of some of those wires. Excess wire in the main harness, yeah, you can cut it short. What was that tuning pin set on the board? Now, okay, it's from a previous design. One comment on the instructions, they don't mention the 0.1 cap until after he did soldered the tuner pot. You can still tack it on there. Also, the power to the display wasn't mentioned until after I'd soldered up the main board and PA. Bothered being a real pain to solder later. I suppose I should have followed best practices and read the whole thing through in detail before I started, but hams, yeah, I'm the same way. I do like to flip through the manual and see if there's anything that's really obvious, but I will admit I don't read it in detail before I dive in. Some of the manuals are good that way. Some of them, like I just did that FA-VA5 antenna tuner, which has an extremely compressed manual for putting the thing together. And I had to reread it several times to understand what it meant, because it was, after all, translated from the German, but it was correct and I did get it to work. Needs a portable antenna for KX3 hotel balcony often. Buddy pole would work. A loop, maybe. There is an apartment antenna that MFJ sells. It has a long counterpoise back in the room, and it's got a short thing sticking out over the balcony. Look around on the internet. A lot of people have the same issue and use different antennas. Okay, this is from Gary Tolley. How are you? I've been watching and studying for the technician and general class test. Good deal. My question on repeaters, he wants to listen, is uplink, downlink, tone, CTSS, and DCS. DCS is not used much in the USA, but the CTCSS is CCTSS? CTSS. I programmed the downlink and the it's not 0.0600K, it's 600 kilohertz, which is 0.6 megahertz offset. I can tag the repeater and get back an ID. You shouldn't be doing that because that involves transmitting. Get your license and then do that. There isn't any traffic on it because some repeaters have almost no traffic on them. You want to find a good active repeater that you can listen to. Says there's never any traffic on the UV5R in Southern California. That is hard to believe. Your problem is you don't have an external antenna. If you're using the UV5R, you've got this little rubber duck that's very, very much a compromise antenna and is more an attenuator than an antenna. And if you use that indoors, you're not going to get much of anything. You need to get yourself a J-pole, but before you do that, get yourself a license because you should not be even kerchunking the repeater without a license. Okay, this is from Chris Funk, KI7TGY. First, I'd like to thank you for all your videos. You got me reinterested in amateur radio and helped me pass my tech exam and then my general. A lot to you, thanks. And now I find myself in the board of directors of my local club, the Southern Oregon Amateur Radio Club, aka SOARC, in Grants Pass, Oregon. I've even been there, which leads me to the purpose of my question. Club would love to invite you to Skype into one of our club meetings, give the presentation. Yes, I'll do that. I've done that before. I'm going to set that one aside. Write to me with what you propose, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, we're up to Wednesday, March 20th. We have a few left. We won't get to all of them today. This is from Rudy, KD5P. Would like to use All-Star with my own node, but it seems complicated to build. Some say it is easy, but I haven't been active many years, and it is all new to me. Would you please do a video on building a personal node? I don't know what All-Star is. Maybe somebody does and can write in the comments here. Very often these nodes are built from a kit. There's several kits out there to build hotspots. My hotspot is an open spot, and that came intact. It was all, it was a built unit. I didn't have to do any building on it at all. So, yeah, look around for the kits. They'll tell you what to do. As far as from scratch, you're dealing with UHF technology, and there are some special build considerations when you deal with UHF. Well, I guess technically 220. 440 is UHF. 220 is VHF. This is from Stan Schultze, K7AIX. Says, I've been watching your fantastic amateur radio videos on YouTube. Wow, they're the best. Wish I was there to take you to lunch. Thank you for the great support. Yes, we could both have our silent. Absolutely, Stan. Thank you. Okay, we're going to do about one more here. This is from Richard Freeman, N6CE. I just bought a Yaesu FT70D handheld, which came with a 10.5 volt plug-in wall charger. And of course, Yaesu would like me to buy one of their car chargers. The problem is I already have 6 car chargers. Unfortunately, they're all 12 volts. My question, would there be a problem if I use one of my 12 volt chargers on my HT? Yes. yes, there would be a problem. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there about fires from things like that. I know that a lot of the little chargers that I get with the Chinese radios are um, 10, 10 volt that they give to the battery pack. And the little wall wart puts out 10 volts instead of 12. And if you put 12 into that, you'll burn it up. And I mean as in fire, burn it up. So looks like you're going to get another car charger here soon. Okay, we are at on the hour. It's 2000 UTC here. Let's see what a few last minute comments might be. Sorry for being late. A dog problem. Yeah, we have a dog too. Cola Radio Ham Nation did a segment on it. Uses training mission to locate the signal origin. Actually, that's not a bad idea, but do not approach the person. Okay, you can. People have used guns in situations like that. These people can be weird. Be safe. Leave it to the official observers, or whatever they're called right now. They've got a new program. Be traveling. Let's see, we talked about that. Oops. Chameleon works well. Stockholm, hello. And all stare. I think it was all star. Sure. I'll have to find that. Did you pick up the IC 7300 yet? No, he hasn't. He's coming. He's a trucker, and the next time he comes through Grand Junction, he's going to let me borrow it. If that doesn't work, there's a local guy here who has offered to loan me his 7300. I've got somebody here. I don't often do this, but I'm going to remove someone from the channel. Okay. Another great live stream. All right. I think we've covered everything. Again, I would urge you to go to dcastler.com/support and see if there's a way there that you can support this channel. Some people are in a position to do that, and otherwise everything's absolutely free. Thank you so much for your emails. Emails go to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Or if you wish, you can go to my website at ke0og/ask-dave. And there's a form there that you can fill out. That same page also has a list of all of the Ask Dave videos. So you can search on various terms on that page and see if there's something that is of particular interest to you. I do have both the extra and the technician videos on thumb drives for those who can't always get to the internet and want to continue their studies, like if they're on a subway or something like that, or live in an area that has very poor internet service. And I just want to say thank you for everybody. We'll talk to you next week at the same time. I'll get a video out this coming week, assuming it doesn't snow, on the Octopus. It's finally in a position where we can do some proper testing. Thank you all, 73 to all, and we will see you next week.